to give all the kids their awards. That's the best part.
My guess is that they're not going to let this, not to rain on the parade, because this is a lot easier for you too, but my guess is that they're not going to let this go on forever, that the executive order will change. Because people who want hearings and stuff want to be like in person. They won't do it this way. And so, I mean, I hope you're right. It's a lot easier for me.
It is convenient, but it's, you miss some of the body language. It's there are things that are missing. There's no doubt.
And I do think it would be really hard to have a hearing. Like we have someone who has been scheduled for a hearing for a long time who won't have the hearing because it's virtual.
Yeah.
All right, you're good to go.
So why don't we?
All right, we're ready. 6:04. Michelle, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Lawton?
Here.
Mr. Cologne?
Here.
Mr. Coutu?
Here.
Mrs. Saint-Amand?
Here.
Mr. DiMartino?
Yeah. All right. Can we have a motion to go into executive session according to Rhode Island General Laws 42464 and 42465, subsection A?
I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Before we start, I just had you're going to laugh. I'm dating myself. I'm looking at the 9 of you, and I keep thinking of that game, Match Game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you did just do it yourself. All right, so now we close out of this meeting and go into executive session.
Okay.
See you there.
All right.
Okay. How come I can't get out here? Perfect. Karen, you're going to have to remind the school committee members and Aubrey to unmute themselves. We are
Okay.
streaming, and then I'm going to start recording this as well.
Okay, unmute now, Jim.
Say that again, Karen.
They unmute now.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome and welcome back into open session. I'll just remind the school committee and Attorney Lombardo to mute yourselves.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Sorry. Unmute yourselves as we start to live stream. Thank you. And as soon as everybody's here,
We need our illustrious leader.
we do. So he'll find his way.
I'm such a slob. All I want to do is eat all day.
I know. I know.
Cookies and junk. Ugh.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna have to pay double the membership to not use it twice as bad next year.
All right. All right. Hopefully. Oh, here he is. Hey, Steve. Steve, you have to unmute. There you go.
Is everybody in?
We are
Think so.
ready to roll.
It's 6:40, 10 minutes late. Sorry, folks. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Lawton,
Here.
Mr. Cologne,
Here.
Mr. Kutu,
Here.
Mrs. Saint Amand. Here. Mr. DiMartino.
Here.
All right. Can we have a motion to seal executive session minutes, please?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sue.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right. We're going to have a discussion and action regarding the reduction in workforce for certified teachers.
Okay. One second. Papers are sticking together. Well, thank you for being here, everybody. So I'd just like to have a couple of remarks. First, I would like to recommend to the school committee that there be a discussion / action regarding reduction in workforce for the certified teachers. And before I make those recommendations, I just have a few remarks I'd like to make. Most of this goes without saying when I'm going to begin to say that due to unprecedented times brought on by the coronavirus, we're all experiencing every day the impact it's had on us all in many ways. And as one result, we find ourselves in a very difficult position that we're about to talk about tonight. Clearly, the hardest decisions I've had to make in this job so far as a superintendent of schools. So tonight, I will be recommending to the school committee the layoff of a number of members of the West Warwick Teachers Alliance. And it's only based on the uncertainty of several things. Mostly the funding for FY21, and as well as the model of school we're uncertain about reopening schools for next year. And some of this may be familiar to a lot of you already, as you've been hearing on the news every day and in our conversations, but a lot of uncertainty around the FY21 budget from the state. The state hasn't approved a budget for next year yet. As you also know, the state has a huge $800 million deficit. So the state and the governor, as recent as today in her press conference, mentioned, she was asked a question about the stimulus money the state's already received, and if she was going to use that to help small businesses in particular. And her answer basically was they're waiting to see if the federal government comes through with another stimulus package to help in all of the above situations. And I'm imagining that includes what the state aid is going to be for next year. So that's a huge holdup. I think we're all waiting. The state's waiting for the federal government. We're waiting for the state. The town's waiting for the state. So based on that uncertainty, we need to reduce our original budget that we presented this spring to reflect no increase in our state aid from last year. And that's a devastating number. We've had to revise our budget proposed for next year by $1.9 million, which is just an unbelievable number for us to have to consider. So we started, Joe Spagna has done a great job revising the budget, the overall budget, and made cuts in several areas that we couldn't afford, we can't afford to take money from, and it will leave gaping holes in a few examples: professional development, capital improvements, overtime, only to name a few. But every area of the budget, working rates, every area of the budget, we could make a consideration. We made as much of a consideration as we could to get to a final number, a final deficit that we would have to make up to balance our budget. So that's our charge, no matter what the circumstances are, whether it's federal aid, state aid, a model of school for next year. It's our charge to present a balanced budget. So working with the best information we have, that's the issue that we're dealing with tonight. So tonight, the West Warwick Teachers Alliance will have layoffs presented. By statute, we're required by June 1st to make these notifications of layoff. Again, it's the hardest thing in my tenure in this position, that I've had to do. There's not one single position that we don't need that I'm going to recommend tonight. We need every single one of these positions to service and support our students and their families. Every single person that I'm going to recommend for layoff tonight is a valued, hardworking, dedicated people that have gone above and beyond what is asked of them, of the district, on their own time. Some of these people have developed programs, meaningful programs, that have supported our kids and families from the ground up. From their own initiative, people have used their own time and resources to additionally train themselves. I could go on all night about just that. So I just need to say these things versus just read off a list of names and positions that need to be considered tonight, because I need the point to be made and understood that every single position is vital to the support of the district, and every single person is as vital and critical to our function. So the absence of these positions leave gaping holes in our work, as well as non-compliance for state and federal mandates and requirements, as well as servicing students, related services. With these recommendations as they go through tonight to balance our budget, we will not be able to adequately service our kids, as well as non-compliance with the BEP. So again, I need to make the point and make no mistake about the fact that we need these positions, and the intent will be in the future to find a way to bring these positions back into play. So the other piece of this is that our current situation that we're in with distance learning and kids not coming to school, not being with their teachers, not being in the familiarity of their classrooms and their school and the supports they have, has created a whole nother layer of need and support of our kids. For a long time, for several years, we've been talking about the social emotional needs of our kids. And we've worked really hard in the district to support that, not just our students, but their families as well. And with the new experience we're having, we're seeing a whole nother layer of need there. So I can't imagine the need to service that layer going down anytime soon. If anything, I think that layer may increase. In regards to going back to school next year, we still don't have a defined model yet. We don't know if we'll be going back in a full distance learning mode. We don't know if we'll be going back in full, everybody going back 100%. And I'll be honest, I don't think that's going to be the case, at least at the beginning of the year. And there's the hybrid model that we've been hearing about, a combination of in-person and distance learning experience, as well as the CDC guidance that has been daily been updated and brought forth regarding PPE, disinfecting, sanitizing, supplies that we're going to need, the support staff to do that work on an hourly basis in the schools, transportation. The recommendation for transportation right now is 1 student to a seat in every other row, which I think is 12 kids on a bus. So there is a potential huge cost to us going back to school next year. And those are the questions that are being asked right now. And those are the conversations that are happening statewide. So it's a very complicated picture. And we're working daily and thinking daily and in meetings daily to see where the whole thing works out. But back to our task at hand tonight. We need to first present a balanced budget. So this will be a step-by-step process in terms of seeing what school will be like if we open up next year. But right now, we need to take care of one step at a time. So the first step, our first charge, as I just said, is to present a balanced budget. So in order to do that, I'm going to make the recommendations for layoffs from the Teachers Alliance tonight, as well as the removal of a couple of positions. Now, Council 94, by contract, has a June 1st layoff date. The teachers, it's a state statute that requires us to give that notice by June 1st. For Council 94, it's a contractual date of June 1st. They've agreed with us, and there's an MOA on the agenda tonight, to extend that June 1st date to July 1st to give us a few more weeks to hopefully have more information about either the budget or the model of school next year, and we can make more informed decisions. You know, I wish we had the same luxury with the Teachers Alliance to have a few more weeks to see where things land. But again, by statute, we need to make this recommendation for this action tonight. So with that said, I will read off the recommendations to the school committee by position and by employee name and school that the position is currently in. So Aubrey, is it okay if I read the whole list, or should we do one by one?
I think we should probably do it one by one, just
Okay.
for process sake.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Members of the school committee, I recommend you accept my recommendation for the layoff of a math interventionist at Deering Middle School, and the employee is Cynthia Jones Pelletier.
We'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Before we vote, does anybody have any questions? Louis, I know your hand was up earlier.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I wanted to say something. I just don't know if it's appropriate time. Basically, I just want to outline a couple of things. And this is very difficult. I understand, Karen, from your perspective. I mean, you were in their situation as an educator, and so it's very hard for you. It's brutal for me because, to be honest with you, since I've been on the school committee, we've been in such a great position because, you know, I came, you know, at the beginning of the 5-year plan and stuff like that. And we've been and we've kept our end of the bargain up. And I just want to make sure that I clarify for some folks that may be watching or listening or whatever the case may be. But I wrote a couple points down here. the monies that we're asking for, am I correct in saying it's $800,000, Karen?
Correct.
Okay, so that $800,000 just leaves us in a status quo position, and that status quo position does not calculate the amount that the district is going to incur for all these extra added things, such as, you know, like you said, the busing and all these other ventures, the cleaning and so on and so forth. So at a minimum, I just don't want it to be a situation where people say, oh, it's 800, this is what we gave them. No. It's 800 that we need to be bare bones before we're impacted by what it is we have to get done. That's one thing. The other thing is, we as a district, as a committee and as a school community, have given back time and time again. We've given back in efforts when we were supposed to get X amount of dollars and we didn't. We said, hey, listen, just please help us fix the sidewalks, because that's what we were going to use the money for. Keep the rest. You know, oh, you need $1 million? Yep. Take the $1 million and do what you got to do for your end to keep your. There was a 5-year plan in place. We adhered to the 5-year plan. We did everything we could to make sure that we as a school committee and as a district kept our end of the bargain up, and we did that. And then the last thing is yeah, I mean, I guess that's basically it. I mean, I don't take this lightly. I you know, and I've said this time and time again in open session, in executive sessions, and every other time I can. I like to pride myself in being a man of my word, and I'm a handshake kind of guy. And whether it helps me or hurts me, we've made a deal with these educators for their services. And I don't like the fact that we're in a position right now that we're kind of taking a little bit of that back by this layoff. So I'm not comfortable. I understand we have to do it, and I understand that we're all not comfortable. I shouldn't say I like it's about me. None of us are comfortable with this, and I understand it. It hurts all of us. So I just wanted to say that, but I just want to express that we've done our share. And so for those who may be listening, please keep an account that $800,000 we're asking for, or we're requesting, is just to keep a status quo before we have to make other sacrifices to try to adhere to the conditions that are going to be placed upon us. Thanks, Karen. That's all.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Louis. Joe, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just want to add the point. I'm going to vote for all these layoffs reluctantly, but because we have to, all right? But the point is, I'm also hoping that when the federal government and the state gets their act together, that none of these layoffs will be permanent. And it's my hope that all of them will actually be able to continue to work in our employ, because they're good employees, they're good teachers, they're good administrators. They've made our district a great district, and we really don't want to lose any of them. I just want to stress that point right up front. While I am going to be voting for these layoffs, it's with a heavy heart. I really don't want to vote for them, but I don't think we have at this point. We got to let them know by June 1st, or else so we have to. That's just the way it is. So just wanted to.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep, very, very well put, Joe. Very well put.
And actually, I just wanted to add one more, just to add to one of Joe's points about we're lucky to have them, the people that we're going to recommend for layoff. I also want to make no mistake about the fact that several of these people, if not all, could easily go to another district, and with it, our teachers are, they're the lowest or amongst the very lowest paid in the state. So these very talented people could easily, and many of them have been attempted to be recruited, but we won't let them go. So to keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Karen. All right, so we've got a motion.
A second.
And do you want to do this one at a time, or should just as a group like we always do?
Well, I think
I think Aubrey said.
I think Aubrey said we do one at a time. So
Okay.
For Cynthia Jones Pelletier, right?
All right, I vote yes on the layoffs.
Yeah. Yes.
Reluctantly.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The second is members of the school committee. I recommend that you accept the recommendation for the layoff of the Dean of Students for Deering Middle School, and the employee is Greg Gonzalez.
Make a motion.
Second.
I vote yes.
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 All in favor, right, Steve?
Yes.
Okay.
The next is,
Sorry,
I'm
Karen.
sorry, Audrey, go ahead.
No, I apologize. I just want you to do the employees individually, but you don't have to do a roll call vote for all of them. You can say like who's in favor and then ask any nays, and I think that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we took each individual employee
Okay.
separately. I apologize.
Okay. All right. So with that, I'll start by saying, with regret for all of these, including the math interventionists and the dean of students, and all to follow, with regret, I recommend that the school committee accept my recommendation for the layoff of the dean of students from West Warwick High School, Steve Alves.
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I recommend that you accept the recommendation to lay off the mentor coordinator, the district position, and the employee is Dana Pepito.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The next is the layoff of a district-wide math coach, and the employee is Kim Oakes.
We have a motion to,
So moved.
all in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 The next position recommended for layoff is industrial tech STEM teacher at Deering Middle School, and the employee is Kenneth Rassler.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next position is for layoff is a grade 5 teacher at Deering Middle School, and the employee is Rebecca Bannon.
Make a
Make a
motion.
motion.
And a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next position is a world language teacher at West Warwick High School, and the employee is Sabrina Zarilli Damasi.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next is a social studies teacher at West Warwick High School, and the employee is Brenda Johnson.
Make a motion.
And a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is a social studies teacher at Deering Middle School, and the employee is Lenora Crook.
Make a motion.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last layoff is a social studies teacher at the Quinn School in the alternative program, and the employee is Sean O'Connor.
Make a motion.
And a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And there's 4 positions that I recommend for reduction. The first one is an ESL teacher position at West Warwick High School. And that would be due to a retirement. We won't fill that position.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next is a speech language pathologist district-wide position. And again, due to a retirement, we will not fill that position.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The third is a grade 3 teacher at West Warwick High School. Again, due to a retirement, we will not fill that position.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the last position that we will eliminate is a reading specialist at West Warwick High School, which currently has a long-term substitute in it that we will not fill next year.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Number 9, discussion approval, Council 94 memorandum of agreement, extension of layoff date.
Members of the school committee, I recommend there be a discussion/approval of the memorandum of agreement between the West Warwick School Committee and Council 94, which extends the layoff date, as I talked about earlier, from their contractual June 1st date to July 1st, for the reasons mentioned before, to give us a few more weeks to see if we have better answers regarding budget and school model for next year.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sue to extend the layoff date.
Second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 10, discussion action, reduction in workforce for Council 94 members.
Well, that one, we actually had a revised agenda, so that one was actually taken off.
Okay,
So number 10 is remarks from West Warwick Teachers Alliance President regarding layoffs, which would be Sean Doyle.
you with us?
He is.
I am here. I
Hello,
assume,
hello?
I assume you can hear me?
Yes,
Yes, Steve.
Okay. So good evening, members of the school committee and Superintendent Tarasevich. Good evening to Ms. Colazzo, Ms. Lombardo as well. It's good to see faces. Affected members have opted to not participate in this meeting tonight or to make any comment while reserving their rights to individual private hearings at a later date if necessary. I'll make comments on behalf of the Teachers Alliance and on behalf of our sisters and brothers who were laid off tonight for the reasons stated by the superintendent. Before I really talk about comments, the first thing I want to do is I want to thank you, Karen. You have handled this thoughtfully and with compassion. You treat people with dignity. And every person on that list received a personal phone call from you about this. And for that, I'm grateful. I know you don't take this lightly, and I know you'll work with us as we always work together to try to reinstate these positions. I also know that this school committee feels the same way, and we don't just look at this as numbers in staff. Every person representing a staff cut is servicing a program that takes care of kids. And in West Warwick, we don't have anyone in the district or in our bargaining unit that's superfluous. I'm appreciative of the way the school committee has handled this, but we also now need to get to work and figure out how to reverse it. So I do want to share some thoughts, and I hope you indulge me, even if it feels like I'm preaching to the choir. I'm glad to be in a position where what I'm saying is really the same thoughts you have, and you probably don't need to hear it, but I feel like I need to say it. I do believe that the state will eventually have funding because there aren't any other options, whether it's obtaining flexibility with the CARES Act or Congress passing the HEROES Act. We do not survive if the state doesn't get funding from the federal government. No one does. So all of this is an experiment in wasting our time. I want to focus on something a little more parochial and what we do in West Warwick to take care of ourselves. I recall a school committee meeting from a few months ago where there was a presentation celebrating one of our many successes. One of the next agenda items was a presentation of cuts to spending so that we could meet and head off a potential budget deficit. And I remember speaking at that meeting and talking about we can make cuts of any size to meet a budget, but when we do that, there's a price to pay. And that's where we are now. The cuts that we're looking at tonight are necessitated by a very real projected budget shortfall. The school department can operate with these cuts, but not in the way in which we're used to. What we're doing is by making these cuts, and I don't blame anyone in this room, but if these cuts were to last and stay, we're striving for mediocrity. We're not achieving what we've been achieving for the past several years. We celebrate successes at almost every single school committee meeting. And without these positions that support kids and support teachers to support kids, it'll be hard, if not impossible, to have those same types of achievements. There was a lesson a few years ago. I know Mr. Colon talked about the 5-year plan, and I was glad to hear your comments, Mr. Colon, because I thought 5-year plan was dropped from our vernacular like most failed initiatives are from time to time. You know, when we don't pull something off, we forget that it ever happened, but I was glad to hear you bring that up. And you're right, and I appreciate the comments that you made, so thank you.
Cool.
But the lesson that we should have learned there is you don't stop investing when things look like they're okay. You continue to invest when things look like they're okay, because it's the cloudy days that you need to be prepared for. And here we are now, after several years of level funding from the town, we have a cloudy day and it's dark. And Mr. Cologne, you hit the nail right on the head. We have a very real health crisis and economic crisis that's affecting us. But if you take that away, we're still in a hole because of the lack of funding to schools. And one thing that I find frustrating is every time the school finishes a year with a surplus, and it's not usually huge, is we're almost blamed for having extra money. And it's so frustrating. And I've really boiled it down to 4 different areas or reasons why we have surpluses. One is we have a finance director and a superintendent who are fiscally prudent. So that's a crime now that we have a surplus at the end of a year because we did our job. We have a property services department that stretches dollars like I've never seen anybody do anywhere, never mind in the school department. We leverage grant dollars. I would bet person for person that we maximize grant dollars more than any other district in Rhode Island. And on top of that, staff, including teachers, work in West Warwick for a lower rate than our counterparts in almost every other school in the state. And we made those concessions so we would have surpluses, because the last time I checked, surpluses are better than deficits. As if you break even at the end of a year and there's 0 pennies left in the coffers and you owe no money either. It just doesn't make sense. It's not logical. So I feel like we're punished for being responsible and not rewarded for it. And now we have 11 hardworking people. And Karen, I couldn't say it any better or any greater than you did, describing how these people work hard. We need them to do their job. So one thing I do want you all to understand, as well as anyone else who may be listening, is that I am keenly aware of the effects of the COVID-19 health and economic crisis. I like to believe that I'm a compassionate person. I understand that people are suffering with illness, with losses of pay and losses of lives. We all know people closely, most likely, that have lost people in their life from this virus. And it's scary and it's sad. I also believe that this community needs our schools fully staffed to be here to support our kids during this crisis. We're needed to care for the health, safety, and well-being of these children right now more than ever. We're needed so that we can even start to think about opening economies so that parents can go back to work. We need to scream for the resources so that we can bring back all 11 of these people so they can keep on doing what they've been doing for the past 3 months. So I just implore the school committee to continue to work with the West Warwick Teachers Alliance so that we can figure this out and do what we always do best, work together, face the people who stare us down from the outside and figure it out. The 11 names that were read tonight are all very real people, very hardworking people, talented people. They're people who have been partners with us in building the educational system in West Warwick. We need them on board so that we can keep on doing what we do best. So I appreciate the time that you gave me here to speak, and I look forward to starting tomorrow the conversation about what we need to do to bring people back. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
So, Karen, I just wanted to make one more
Louis had his hand up. Yep.
with respect to clarification. So, 2 things that just while Sean was speaking come to mind. First is the monies that we get with respect to surpluses. The monies that we get are monies that we need to operate, right? Our everyday, the schools. The monies that we get, it's to Sean's point with respect to being fiscally responsible and almost being punished a little bit. And basically the reason why I bring it up is because the monies that we get is to operate. We are, like Sean said, between you and Kenny and Joe, we find a way to get these grants done with all the other administrators to get grants, to get extra money that's brought into the district. And so sometimes that money that we're supposed to be using is left over. But in any particular instance, if we don't get a grant, if we don't get some of those funds that you guys have requested or have bid or have asked for, we will end up, we won't be able to pay the bills. So that money is there for the services that are required in the district, which brings me to my next point, which is when we have a surplus, surpluses are not allowed to be used for operation costs. And I think we have to keep that in mind.
Correct.
So just because we have a surplus doesn't mean we can continue to operate with that. Those are for what they're designated for.
Right.
You know, and so I just wanted to make sure that that was made clear as well.
Right. So Louis, you make a couple of good points. And some, you know, sometimes we end up with a surplus for a few different reasons. I'll give you one example. If we have a capital improvement project, and to show one of Sean's points, Kenny Townsend in the Property Services Department does an awful lot of work in-house where if we had to hire people from the outside to come in, there'd never be a surplus. So when he does things in-house, and sometimes we get a surplus from that. So that's just one example. I forgot the other point I was going to make. Sorry, I lost it.
Perhaps with respect to operational costs.
Oh yeah. So yes, Title 16 says that you shall not use surplus money for operations. So it's that simple.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Sean, I just want to thank you again for your comments. And of course, as always, we're here to partner with the Teachers Alliance and Council 94. That is the way we get things done. That's the way we get things done the best way they can be done. And I know we're all committed to that, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure this out. And I agree with you. I want to believe that the state needs to come through with some money. The federal government needs to come through with some money. We're not the only town. We're not the only school department in this situation. So this is a horrible, horrible action to have to take tonight. But that's where we are in the process of getting to the other side of this whole mess. So
within a couple of weeks, we're going to see the legislature. They're going to be in the same situation for the entire state because they don't have the funds, and they're going to be all the programs, social programs, everything is just going to be cut because they don't have the funds to balance it. So this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg.
Right. Yeah, this is not something you can plan for. That's for sure. So I appreciate everybody's support tonight. Tough decisions.
Thank you, Karen. Sorry I had to do that. We appreciate it.
All right, I don't have the most recent agenda, but I think adjournment now.
That was the last one, Steve.
All right. Anybody have any other comments, or are we ready to take a vote and adjourn?
I don't. Just thanks, everyone.
You don't have to vote. Just vote to adjourn. Sorry.
Make a motion to adjourn, please.
All right, I second the motion. Guys, stay safe.
All right.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Thanks, guys.
Michelle, did they take a vote?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
I had a motion in a
Good, thank
second,
you.
yeah. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, Aubrey.